The battle of wizards and warriors continues with iron swords. The evil wizard Malkill will take the shape of the earth, wind, water, and fire. Farewell! The fate of the world is in your hands!
You're listening to the Piercing Wizard podcast, and I'm your host, Ryan Willett. I'm a professional body piercer with 20 years experience. I travel around the world teaching technique and safety classes, and I'm a member of the Association of Professional Piercers. Listen in as I talk to my friends and colleagues about our industry so we can all stay sharp. Hi everybody, how you doing? I'm going to keep the intro short this week. I actually have to kind of get my butt in gear, hop in the shower, and get to the airport. I'm on my way to Iceland today. Last night I went to Apocalyptica in Boston with my good friend Jesse V, and it was an awesome night. It was great, just chatting with Jesse. We had a chance to record on the car ride down, had some pretty good conversations about where we are in the industry, where we see the industry going, how to avoid burnout, things like that. So enjoy the episode. I will try to enjoy my trip. I'm going to be getting a lot of content for everybody. Next week I should be home, and I'll get one of the UK interviews up before I head out to Atlanta in Germany. So enjoy my conversation with Jesse V. Okay, so we're recording. I would say just, oh my God. I would just say maybe talk kind of a little bit louder than normal conversational volume.
No problem, Ryan.
Okay, Jesse Villemaire. So we are currently in my car,
road tripping,
on the way to Boston to go see Apocalyptica perform there. Metallica by Four Cellos. Is that what it's called? Metallica by Four Cellos?
I guess 20 years ago, I think it's their anniversary of recording an album of just four cellos doing Metallica songs.
Yeah, so biggest Metallica fan I know is Jesse, so I got tickets and invited him down.
That was very sweet of you.
Oh, I'm just glad you said yes.
Yeah, I love coming to visit you. I don't get out here enough. Next time it's your trip.
Yeah, see, I always feel like I want to just kind of pop up to Canada, go visit my buddies, but then I realize that it's a 10-hour drive.
Yeah.
And I could spend 10 hours like playing video games or watching Netflix or petting my dog or something. So, but yeah, I absolutely want to do that. Probably, I don't know, November-ish, I guess.
We gotta get out more. I think we're in our bubbles way too much.
Yeah.
And not getting out and visiting our friends within the industry, and yet they're like somewhat a state next to you. For me to travel a province across in Canada, that's a lot harder, but I'd say just do it. Just go. Well,
the thing that I always find funny when I talk to somebody like you or a lot of the other people in the industry, when we talk about like, oh, we got to get out of our bubbles and do some more stuff, it's like, some people might look at what we post online and be like, when are you ever home and working?
That's true. People think I live in the woods.
Yeah.
Right? In Algonquin.
With photography.
Right.
And like, as we record this, tomorrow morning I'm on my way to Reykjavik, Iceland, and then when the show comes out, I'll be in England.
Right.
Where are you going to be in the next week? Are you going anywhere, or are you just going home?
Actually, I'm just going home for once. This is great. And then I'll be planning a trip out to Banff National Park in October, so really looking forward to that. That's my next big trip.
Banff National Park is named after Nightcrawler from the X-Men series.
See, this is where your nerd boner shows. And
that's the sound he would always make in the comic books whenever he would teleport somewhere. It would be Banff, you know?
Get it. I don't understand.
Okay, well, whatever. I'll send you a comic book or something and you can catch up on it.
I can picture it.
What were we talking about a second ago? How many days of the week our shops are open?
Yeah. I wonder if anybody else has this issue of transitioning. I'm sure a lot of people open up shops and they're maybe open the 5 days a week, probably close on Sunday, Mondays. That seems to be like the typical closing days, if there's closing days.
Yeah.
Kind of following like maybe hairstylists or spas and stuff like that. It seems to be the same service industries.
I've been closed on Sundays for,
a long time.
The entirety of my shop.
Right. But then the people make the transition to go 7 days. I'm just curious, I'm thinking about that now. Being in business, Thrive's been, I think, around for now 12 years, and we have a killer staff and everybody's great. I'm just wondering about making that transition. Why haven't I made the transition potentially to 6 days even?
Yeah, well, I think
7?
you really value your personal time.
I really do.
Even though you have
and not just
staff.
Mine.
Well, yeah.
My staff.
You want other people to enjoy their lives too. But I think at this point, you still kind of see it as like, if we're open more, I have to work more. Maybe, I don't know, that's just my guess.
It's possible. I mean, I'd rather not be stressed at the end of my week.
Yeah.
I like that de-stress time, and
Yeah.
I've always felt the same for my artists, wanting to like, I don't want anybody to ever feel like they have to be
or burnt out.
burnt out. I'd rather have happy staff, but that doesn't mean I can't be 7 days and not have a happy staff. Who's to say they wouldn't want to work a Sunday, Monday, and be off a Wednesday, Thursday, for example?
Yeah, exactly. As long as you're not expecting your staff to work all 7 days. Yeah, you know, if you have enough staff that you can rotate them out and make sure they have like a weekend, you know, whether it's in the middle of the week or the end of the week. Yeah.
Have you always been open 6 days then?
Yeah, pretty much. I thought at points of trying to open up on Sundays, you know, like I had other piercers kind of come and go and say like, you know, oh, I wouldn't mind working on Sunday, but then it turns into, well, then I have to have a receptionist on Sundays also, because, you know, with the floor space in my shop, you can't have just one person in there, because then there'd be nobody at the desk watching who comes in the door and all this stuff, you know.
I feel like that's the same way for me. I have a perfect hourly system right now for a full-time counter staff and manager, whereas I'd have to hire another manager, or maybe not manager per se, but another counter staff for sure. And
I mean, you definitely have that offset of more income. But, you know, I mean, is it really worth it for the expenses you'd have and the amount of strain that you'd have to add to your staff? So I thought about, you know, because I've got that big transition coming up in the winter where Aaron's moving to Denver, Evan is going to be taking on an expanded role in the shop, and, you know, I still need to pierce to make a living at this point. So I thought, like, I don't know, maybe we could open on Sunday and that could be one of Evan's days or something. I don't know. But I do enjoy having days off, and we're so used to being closed on Sundays, and our customers have been trained that we're closed on Sundays.
And the customers that you attract on a Sunday, I find, at least in our town, the ones that are looking for shops on the Sundays are usually the ones that are looking for just anybody. They don't really care. It's just
a deal.
Because that's what's known in our town anyway. The ones that are open typically on a Sunday are, those cheap, you know, $20 piercing studios here and there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, there's a market obviously there for it.
It is, yeah. I don't necessarily want to expand into that market, you know.
Then there's seasonal too, like over the winter. Is it going to be as busy?
Oh, definitely not.
Summer?
I thought about having summer hours and winter hours at one point, you know, and my summer hours would be probably open 7 days, maybe extend the hours, you know, 12 to 8 is my typical work day right now, so I was thinking maybe I could do like an 11 to 9.
See, my summer hours would be from like 12 till 3.
Yeah.
Just to do at least.
Because you want to get out and
enjoy the summer. No,
Jesse.
I'm kidding. But no, I totally get what you're saying. I'm sure there is some studios that have done this.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I know plenty of shops that are open 7 days, have rotating staff, have multiple piercers on every day, stuff like that. But, you know, I don't know how you feel about almost like throttling your business, sort of. Like I feel like I could grow my business and do more, but I don't necessarily want to be that shop.
Do you want to do more within the piercing industry, or are you talking do more outside of like our industry? What do you?
I look at myself as kind of like I'm not a full-time piercer anymore. You know, I'm a part-time piercer at this point. So I mean more like in the shop. Like I could have 2 piercers on every day. I could have more counter staff. I could you know, go to an appointment system and stack people up and whatever, and I could increase my business. But I kind of made the conscious decision where I don't want to do that, because the whole, like, you know, more money, more problems kind of thing. You know, I don't want any more problems. I can't handle any more problems.
Nobody wants more problems. Everybody wants more money. But I see exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth the stress, the additional income, and, you know, I don't want to have to put it all on somebody else's shoulders either.
I think we're also established in our businesses that we realized there would be stress involved with that. I remember in the beginning, a common mistake I bet you numerous people make is they open up their first studio, and in that same year, they're so pumped and so hyped and thinking this is great, they're going to open up a second one in a second location.
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen so many times where then people just, you know, they can only care for one baby.
Exactly.
And they let the other one slip.
I see that a lot. I see that a lot more with tattoo owners rather than piercer owners.
Right.
Like a good example, I feel like when somebody opens a shop, that's their baby. And then when they open a second shop, that's their baby. And then the other one just kind of falls to the wayside. Like, I feel like if you're the owner and you're like, you know, the head person in charge, you really only care and focus on your most recent shop, your biggest, newest, freshest, brightest thing.
Yep.
And, you let the other ones fade away. Like, I've been asked so many times by people like, hey, you ever thought about opening a second shop and this and that? And it's like, yes. And then I realized that it was a terrible idea because I care about my studio and I don't want to just be like a gloves off owner. I want to like be there.
You don't want to be a franchise, for example, or numerous cookie cutter shops. I mean, I'd like the challenge, and that's my biggest thing in my brain anyway, as an entrepreneur brain. I'm always looking for that next challenge. I'm always looking for that next thing. Yeah. Even within my studio and outside of the studio, right? Both of us, we just love when we find something that we love, we just dive right into it.
We're like dogs chasing a laser pointer, or cats. What's the analogy? Cats chase. Dogs chase cars? Cats chase laser pointers.
Yes.
We chase money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
but it's not about the money. I don't.
It's
feel
not
like...
about the money. I mean, the money certainly makes it nice.
Definitely.
But I think we just like to be challenged, and we like once we.
Here's the problem: if you go into something looking for the money, you're gonna fail.
Oh yeah.
Right. If you go into it passionate about something, the money will come organically. Right. Yeah. And that's what I feel as though I've given this industry. I've given it my passion, and I love it, and it's fed me. It's given back tenfold. And
I know exactly what you mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Numerous people in this industry that we surround ourselves by, and we surround ourselves by very successful piercers and tattoo artists, and we have a healthy living from this.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like sometimes, like, your it's this weird like seesaw kind of balancing act where on one side you have your income, and on the other side you have your life, and you have to kind of find this balance of like, working hard enough that you can have an income. And especially when you build up a shop like yours or mine, it's not just my life I'm working for now. I've got a staff, like I've got, I don't know, 9 people working for me at this point, and I got to make sure that they can make a living and they're comfortable. And
pretty crazy the first time one of my artists was able to get a mortgage, and get a car. And, one of my artists right now is having her second baby, and this is their main income is doing what they're doing, and it's so rewarding and yet stressful and scary at the same time.
It is a lot of pressure, because you or I have worked for so many years. We've got savings, we've got a little bit of flexibility where we can say, hey, I want to take a week off for whatever reason, but it's not like we can just close our shops for that week. We have to make sure that the gears keep turning.
I'm happy we have a solid crew that are hopefully turning right now as I'm on this road trip to Boston.
Well, I mean, you just sent them a fruit basket, so I mean, like, you're a pretty nice boss.
I'm a nice guy. They were having a rough day.
So. Yeah. I don't know. I used to do those grand gestures of love for my staff for a while. Send them pizza, or we'd close an hour early and I'd take people out to dinner, stuff like that. But now their lives have gotten so complicated where they've got partners at home, kids at home, pets at home, commutes, all that stuff. So
that's true.
It's a little bit less and a little bit less. I still have to try to make those efforts to, like, do nice stuff for team building and show them that I appreciate them.
I'm sure they appreciate you.
I certainly hope they do.
They've stuck around this long.
Yeah.
I mean, it is hard in especially these shops that have numerous employees.
Yeah, it's got to be so tough.
How do you have that connection?
When you look at those franchises like Iris or High Priestess or something like that, like, they do it and they do it well, and like they have this army of staff that are all like, making a living, and they're all seems happy from
that's
my
the thing.
perspective.
We all seem happy on the outside looking into our social media lives, and I guess that's the whole other thing, right? Like, there must be trouble within. There must be fires they put out every single day.
I'm sure there has to be. I mean, even in my studio, which has a relatively small staff, like, there are constantly fires I have to put out, stress and conflict and all that stuff, and I have to try to steer everything in the right direction and, let people be people, but, check in on them and make sure that they're also being professionals, and I can't imagine what it would be like with even double my staff. Right. I think my hair would fall out.
So do you have weekly meetings? Do you have monthly meetings? Is that a thing?
Well, okay, so I've tried to have meetings, and basically what they turn into is I say what I have to say, like way too fast. I just like word vomit for 5 or 10 minutes, and
I've taught with you. I know.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, shut up. And it's, you know, and I'll be like, hey, these are the things that I think we can improve on. You know, I try not to make them a negative. I try to make them a positive by being like, hey, I see this room for growth and blah blah blah. But you know, a couple minutes into it, people start checking their phones and start looking down and start squirming in their seat and start talking about.
Well, because it feels like dad is yelling at the kids, right?
My staff hates Dad Ryan. I'm pretty sure they all like Ryan, but they all hate Dad Ryan.
Are you Dad Ryan a lot of the time, or do you?
Well, I kind of have to be, you know, because when I pierce Monday, Friday, Saturday. The rest of the week, you know, I go in for appointments or I go in for office work, but I'm not dealing with clients most of the time on those days. Yeah. So if I'm in on one of those days, I try to stay out of their hair as much as possible, but you know, if something needs to be cleaned, I'm not going to wait. You know, I'm going to be like, hey, you need to clean this thing, or hey, you know, you need to reply to these clients, you need to do this, you need to do that. So it's like I can't help myself.
But they probably only see that Ryan more?
Yeah. Well, because they're tattooers or they're counter staff or whatever, they're not in the room with me while I'm piercing, you know, like they see me interacting with piercing clients at the front counter, but other than that, it's like, oh, Ryan's just off in this mysterious room piercing somebody or paying a bill in the office, you know, and then when they see me, then it's like, oh, hey, I'm here to talk to you about some sort of thing that I want you to be doing and you're not doing. Yeah. It's never, well, okay, lately, I've been talking to my tattooers a little bit more about video games, you know, and stuff, because we're all excited about this one game we're all playing, but the majority of the year, it's like, you know, if they see me, like their least favorite thing for me to say is, hey, can I talk to you in the office for a minute? Yeah. Like anytime I say that, like you just see like the color drain out of their face, and
they don't want that. Nobody wants that.
They don't, no. And I have to make these decisions sometimes of like, well, is this issue important enough that I'm going to pull them aside, you know? Right. And like, do I really have to get on them about, you know, trash or supplies or replying? Like, is it enough of a problem where I might potentially create a conflict, you know? And I don't want to have to just let everything wait and snowball into the point where it's like, okay, we have to sit down and have this really difficult conversation. Like that's even worse.
See, I find that's where I have the advantage over you, because I have a studio manager.
Right.
So she gets to play that role more than I do. So when I roll in,
so they hate her.
No, I don't think they hate her. They respect her completely. Yeah. But at the same time, she gets to have those more conversations with them.
Right.
So they know that there's a tier system. Like my staff will actually go to her first to try to resolve something before coming to me. And then when it gets up to me, they understand, okay, not that it's a bad thing or they can't figure it out on their own or it's all negative, but I find having that little bit of a tier system is great. And then that kind of weeds out a lot of things. They try to figure a lot of the stuff out on their own. And
it also helps when it's not like a, you know, mommy daddy kind of situation, you know. It's not like, well, you know, this person said I couldn't, so now I'll go and ask dad, you know, kind of thing.
Right.
I would really like Evan to take on. He does a little bit of a shop manager kind of thing, you know, some ordering and some like, you know, staff management, stuff like that, but
puts him in a tough predicament too, because then he's now again a boss figure over top of them that have been there longer. So that's always the hard thing too, when you bring in
it's kind of a credibility thing, you know, like he has a hard time telling someone like, hey, this needs to be done, and if the person doesn't necessarily agree that it needs to be done, it's probably not going to get done until I have to kind of interject and be like, hey, this needs to get done. But you know, it works. I mean, it's definitely not perfect. I'm definitely still envious of some of these other shops I see where it's just like everything seems to be so flawless and smooth.
But what works for other shops aren't going to always work for your shop.
Oh yeah, I learned that the hard way.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel that's a good thing to take away from this, even the little chat, is when everybody's like, I want what that other person has and I want how they run it and how that works for them isn't necessarily going to work in your personal space.
Oh, yeah. And vice versa. Like when I try to talk to people, if they ask for advice, I always try to make sure they understand, like, hey, this just works for me in my shop, in my market now, but you know, it was 15 years of doing it some other way, you know, before I figured this out, and I don't think it would have worked for me before this point, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I wonder what's changed so much in the last 15 years that we've been in this industry. I find back then, wasn't it more like buddy?
I think I've grown, and I think I'm more of an adult now, you know? Like, and I run a business like an adult, not like a teenager with a little extra money.
When I first started, we didn't know about taxes. We didn't know about anything.
No. The days of the cash-only business?
Yeah, the cash-only and hanging out every night, spending your earnings for the day at night, and just going out and having a great time.
I was talking to my friend Amy about this the other day. Amy, you know Amy.
Yep.
So the rule used to be if I'd hit, and it was like, I don't know, some amount now where it would be like, oh, it was a slow day, but it would be like, if I hit $500 in a day, dinner's on me kind of thing. We'll go out to a movie. We'll go get something to eat, something like that. And that was like all income together. Now it would be like, well, hey, if I make $500 in a day, there's a problem because I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, it's just, it's now it's like I got a mortgage on the building my shop is in, and utilities, and all these supplies, and staff, and payroll taxes, and all this stuff. So it's like, you can make more money, but it's a lot more work, and to maintain it is almost more difficult than to start it.
So what do you find the challenges here, more so in the States maybe than up in Canada? I'm wondering if there's a difference. Is more people opening up studios now? Or are you finding less people finally opening up studios, but now they're all tattooing out of their houses? That kind of...
It's weird because I feel like there are definitely tiers in the market, and I feel like that kind of... I don't want to necessarily call it the lower tier, but the lower tier. In the industry, the ones that are, they want to do a quick turnaround. They don't really focus on repeat clients. They're charging maybe $35 for a piercing with jewelry. Those kind of studios, studios that do quick, like one-off tattoos rather than like working on sleeves and back pieces and generating like long-term clientele. I feel like those shops will come and go. There'll always be a new one opening up somewhere, trying to pull your staff away, or trying to take a market share. But I feel like if you can break through that ceiling and just have like good quality work, good quality jewelry and tattoos, you're generating repeat, return, long-term clients, you're pretty safe once you can establish that,
It's pretty interesting. Up in Canada, there's a lot of, I remember probably 5 years ago, a lot of tattoo artists were leaving their main studios and opening up their own single studios from there. And that was a big thing.
You lost some of your tattooers from that, right?
Yeah, I've lost a few. Actually, the one year I lost all of them in one summer, which was, panic hits you at once.
Yeah.
And now I've also seen the flip side of that, whereas a lot of these shops are closing down and then joining forces with other shops again.
Yeah.
And not doing it all on their own, but combining again.
Well, I think...
realizing it's not...
Yeah, some of my tattooers have definitely thought about, venturing out on their own, and they've been open and transparent with me about it. It's been a sneaky thing. And like I would never wish poorly on someone who just wants to do better for themselves and their family. So it's like I would completely support someone if they wanted to leave, but I think what they realized and the reason they didn't leave is, well, okay, sure, I can be the boss. Maybe I'm paying out a little bit less to the business I work at, but it's all that stress is on me, and it never stops, and if I want to have my own shop, I have to be willing to carry that weight. And I'm not saying me, but I'm saying them. And sometimes people realize that they don't want that weight. They want to just go in.
I think they don't know that there's a weight.
Go home. Yeah.
Until it happens.
Yeah.
Right. They think it's just going to be easy and it works itself out. But
I see a lot of those shops fizzle.
Right.
I see those shops pop up. They stay in business for maybe 2 or 3 years, and then they start to kind of fizzle and dissipate because they want the fruits without the labor, kind of thing. Not that they're lazy, because I've seen some really hard workers who have grown some great things from that, but I feel like, they might be disgruntled and leave a shop where they had a great opportunity to try to venture out on their own, and then they realize that it's a lot more work and it's a lot more maintenance than they expected, and it's maybe not something that they're willing to do for 10 or 20 years.
So positive wise, where do you see us going in 5-10 years?
You and me, or the industry as a whole?
Maybe both. Who knows?
For me, and we talked about this a little bit earlier while we were walking around, is I would like to... I mean, I've done this and nothing but this since I was 20, and I'm 38 now.
Right.
And like that's a long time doing the same thing, and for a long time I did it 6 days a week by myself as a piercer, and I had other people in the shop, but I was really, I was handling the counter, I was handling the jewelry, I was handling the piercing, all that stuff. And, I don't necessarily like to admit it, but like I'm burnt out, like I still love piercing. I love those interactions, but all the things that I have to do now with my shop has taken a toll on me.
I think it's important that you say that and make that known, because I mean, from the outside looking in, a lot of people would look at you and be like, well, he's got it, he's figured it out, like why isn't he burnt out? And no, it's so true. I got there as well.
Yeah, exactly. But like, you've got your photography and your trips and stuff like that. I feel like I've got little bits and pieces of that nourishes me, but I think I need to get out of my shop more, and I need to find those things that make me happy, whether it's a hobby or whether it's an ancillary profession or something. I would like to travel more. I would like to teach more. And I already travel and teach a fair amount, but I think I would like to, 5 years down the road, be like a appointment only, maybe part-time piercer, and then maybe a part-time instructor or consultant, educator. I
love educating. I love that aspect of it. So to be able to travel around and talk to people and in their environments and talking to them about safe practices, and making in workshops, just in general, just teaching people how to pierce better, or new techniques and whatnot. That's what I feel in the next 5-10 years. It's going to be more focused that way, and it's already going that way.
I feel like we're on a pretty set path for that. Like we started out as just kids going to conference, taking classes, and we would fill out the comment cards like, hey, maybe this would make a better class, maybe this would make a better class. And then we just kind of started pitching our own classes, and then it grew out of that. And I think I'm really proud of what we've done, and to see your growth as an educator too, it's like, it's great.
It's exciting.
But I definitely see that path continuing, and growing in that sense, and I feel like as the shop grows and as the staff grows, it takes a little bit of the weight off of me and frees me up to do a little bit more of that stuff. So, I mean, where do you see yourself? I mean, is it more
right now for
photography?
Those that, well, everybody that knows me has probably realized that I'm into photography quite a bit and doing a lot of wildlife and landscape photography, and just everything is submerged, and everything I'm posting online is photography.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's people like, is he even piercing anymore?
Yeah.
And to be honest, I've stepped back a lot from piercing. I have a great staff now. I have Daniel that's here from Australia piercing for me. He's on vacation right now. So Steph from Oakville, she's Stephanie Meyer. She's piercing for me right now. She's great. And I have that confidence for the first time where I can step back and not kind of watch over someone's shoulder all the time. But this past week, for example, I haven't been piercing for a while, but this past week when Steph was there, I was showing her a few things. And again, it sparked my passion back up for piercing again when I started doing a few piercings and having those interactions with the clients and the people and the selling. I love sales.
Yeah.
I love talking to people. And so I don't feel as though I'll ever step back from piercing 100%. I don't physically think I can.
I'm kind of right there with you. Like, I never want to not be a body piercer.
Right.
But I just don't want to be a full-time body piercer anymore.
Yeah. And people must be listening to this, be like, what's wrong with you guys?
Yeah.
You guys are crazy. I've been trying to get into this industry so hard. And then there's people like us that are like, but it's just like anything. Everybody grows. Yeah. Right? And everybody needs to expand. And I don't want to become stale. Yeah. I don't want to become like hating my job and hating, like I've never looked at it as technically as a job. Like I've never hated it. I've never walked into my studio and hated walking into that studio.
You know what I see like in a lot of different professions, but this one included, is people learn a way that's passable and works, and they never relearn or polish it or increase it. And I feel like you and I are kind of a generation of body piercers who, like, everything that I do, I'm trying to catch up to the people that I looked up to. Okay. If there's somebody out there in the world who looks at us and says, oh, that's a Jesse Villemaire, that's a Ryan Willett, they're amazing, I want to be like that someday, I'll give us that little rub really quick. But when I got into the industry, I was looking at other piercers and just being like, Blair and you with Tom Brazda, and all these other people. So like, I set my entire career trying to catch up to them, and I never want to get stale, and I never want to be someone that gets surpassed with ability. And I'm not saying that I'm the best. I'm definitely not. But
there's always something. I'm finding so many piercers that I meet nowadays and having conversations with. A lot of them have so much knowledge already. Yeah. And some of them are so passionate even about the history, which is amazing. Yeah. And then the flip side to that, obviously, are the ones that don't even know anybody exists in this industry except for them. And
I mean, like, you know, it was like that when we got in too. You know, there are people like, oh, hey, what's the APP? Oh, who's Jim Ward? Who's Elaine Angel?
Yeah.
You know, there's always going to be those people who don't care about anything outside of their own bubble.
It's okay if it's just a job to those people. Just like I'm sure there's some tattoo artists that it's just a job to them, and that's just a paycheck.
And you can kind of tell, you know, like the ones that really excel, the ones that are like teaching great classes or like being mentors to people, or, you know, really well-known piercers, you know, they're doing it through hard work and passion. You know, it's not just they're putting in their hours and going home. You know, they're always trying. You know. So
what advice would you give somebody that's starting off?
I don't know.
Starting off maybe in the piercing industry, or
it's tough because if I could go back and give myself advice when I was a kid, I would have told myself to go to medical school. You know, with some of the things that I do now, you know, that kind of straddle the line between body modification and whatever, you know, scarification and stuff like that. I feel like if I could have been the type that could have made it through medical school, you know, whatever, but I wouldn't have been able to make it through medical school. But the advice that I would give people getting into the industry now is don't focus 100% on just piercing. You know, like don't go from being plain Jane, no piercings and tattoos, to being like sick pro mod, split your tongue and tattoo your arms black and like jump in with both feet. Like, you know, build a life while you build a career, so that you don't get burnt out. Like if you want to make it to 10 years, like your life can't just be about body piercing. You can focus really hard and you can constantly, like, you know, try to get better and take classes and focus and put a lot of passion and energy into it. But if that's the only thing you're putting energy into, eventually you're going to hit a wall and you're going to fizzle. You're going to burn yourself out.
I agree. I totally agree. I couldn't have said that better. Because we've all done it.
Yeah.
There's so many people who have done it. And it's not to say you can't focus in on it. Because, I mean, I loved it. And I remember in the very beginning, BME was my biggest resource.
Yeah.
And I remember downloading all the pictures off of BME for some reason, thinking they weren't going to be there the day after.
Right.
And I was so absorbed into it. And it's okay to be passionate and absorbed into it. But I've seen so many piercers right now that are getting into this industry or wanting it so bad, but they're struggling. It's really hard for them to even get that foot in the door.
Yeah.
And it's hard because, I mean, I don't know how many emails you get per week, but we get numerous emails asking, and they're just quick one-liners too. Just like, hey, are you hiring?
How do we get an apprenticeship?
I want an apprenticeship.
I don't really get those emails much anymore. I get the occasional message on Tumblr or Facebook or something, but the emails, I don't really get them much anymore. And I feel like it's because people aren't really putting in the effort that we used to put into for apprenticeships. I think it's just, you know, they lob a softball at one shop that's close, and, you know, maybe it's kind of a lower end shop, unfortunately, and they maybe get abused, and then they have to, then after they're already in the industry, that's when they get serious about their education. Then they have to track somebody down for, like, you know, going to the Fakir intensives or going to like a progressive mentorship seminar or APP conference. Like, I feel like so many people blindly jump into the industry without really knowing what they have to know.
That's true.
And then they get, you know, a year in or 2 years in or however many years in, and then they realize, like, oh, I don't really know what I need to know to get any better at this or to make this a long-term career. And then they have to kind of like unlearn a lot of bad habits and relearn and all that stuff, you know. So if people want to get into it, think of the best shop in your area. And if you can't get an apprenticeship there, don't be an apprentice. You know, like, I know that.
Somewhere else.
Yeah, or move somewhere else. I know it might seem harsh, but really good example. Do you know who Amanda Badger is?
No, off the top of my head.
So I always saw her online, you know, social media, and I always saw that name coming up, and always talking about like really good quality piercings, reblogging really quality content, had nice stuff on herself. And I always thought that she was an existing piercer with how much she knew and everything. And then she sent me a message, hey, I'm going to be in New Hampshire. Can I stop by your shop for a little while and visit? And I was like, yeah, you can shadow for the day, you can hang out. And she hung out the whole time. And then at the end of the day, you know, some client was like, oh, you know, are you a piercer? And she's like, no, I'd really like to get an apprenticeship. And I was like,
amazing.
Oh, you're not a piercer?
Right.
Like, I was like, wow, you know more than like most people that I know. Yeah. And she lives out in Michigan.
Those are the people that need it.
Exactly. Yeah. And she lives out in Michigan, and the area that she was in, there's like, you know, there's not a lot of quality studios to think of, and it's basically it's A or B, and you know, A is Pangea and B is Jeff at Gamma, you know, and then she just got a position working at Gamma. So
no way.
yeah, and I'm
so persistence pays off
it
as well.
totally does, because she took her time.
How long did that take? People
Years.
don't I was
I
gonna
mean,
say
it was years.
Some
Yeah.
people think that it's going to be sent out a couple emails, somebody's going to pick you, and
Yeah.
away you go.
But she did it the right way. I mean, I don't want to tell people like, hey, you know, everybody should wait 5 years for an apprenticeship, but you know, she knew what she wanted to learn. She knew what kind of piercer she wanted to be, and she waited until she found that opportunity. She didn't just buy some needles on eBay and just start piercing her friends.
Patience, though, I think the problem is obviously none of us have that anymore, especially nowadays in the social media era where everything's like quick, go, and they see what they want, and we think we can all get that within, you know, a short period of time.
Do you look back on your career and see like the phases of Jesse the Piercer?
I don't know what you mean by that, as in the phases of. As in,
Well, okay, so I look back at before I owned my first shop. You know, I did like part-time stuff in shops, specialty stuff, genital stuff, you know, and I absolutely didn't know what I was doing. You know,
Okay,
I learned by practicing on myself, basically. You know, I watched a bunch of videos, but that's it. I was never trained by anybody.
Right. And then last year you figured it out.
Yeah, you know, well, you know, I'll get it one of these days. But then, you know, I had my own studio for a couple of years, figuring some stuff out, going to conference, and I see like, you know, this progression of every couple of years, you know, I bump up a step or two, you know, and now I can look at it as like, you know, I'm pretty well educated, I got a good amount of experience.
But there's still room for growth.
Absolutely.
There's definitely room for growth.
I wonder what kind of piercer I'm going to be 5 years from now. And I'm excited to see it and know like what new things I'll learn and how I'll improve and different advances in jewelry and techniques and all that stuff, you know, and I just hope that other people out there are doing that and realizing that the piercer you are now shouldn't be the piercer you are in 3 years. Like, you should always be better. You should always keep learning.
We see that with tattoo artists a lot. You can see that progression for the most part. I mean, if you really care about it.
Yeah. I can see that in definitely the tattooers at my studio, you know, because some of them, they've worked for me the whole time, you know, 16, 17 years, you know, and I can absolutely see, you know what, you have much better tattoos than I do, but like my tattoos, my arms and my legs are just covered in like
older stuff you're not
practice stuff from my guys, you know, and I see the stuff they do now, and it's like, oh man, I wish I had kept my arms free for a couple more years.
Well, everyone starts there.
Yeah, I got to come up and see Lee and just have him like zap everything.
Speaking of zap, is there a lot of tattoo shops around here doing laser tattoo removal as well?
I don't know what the legality is. I
guess every state's different.
Yeah, I think they have to be like medically supervised here. So I know a handful of people doing laser removal, but it's not like an explosion like in unregulated areas.
Yeah, in Canada it's getting to be a little bit more blown up.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, how's Lee doing it? Because I mean, it seems like he's really a specialist with it.
Lee's been doing great. Yeah, he's been in the market, I guess, longer than a lot have up there anyhow. So
the thing that's impressive with him when I talk to him about it is he just knows so much about it. It's like when people talk to us about piercing, and we can be like, this and this and that about the jewelry and safety and all that stuff. Like, he does the same thing with like laser removal, and it's like, wow, I never even realized how. Go figure. Using a laser to remove a tattoo is complicated.
And we're talking about Lee Horton from Legacy Tattoo in London, Ontario.
Hi, Lee.
Miss you, Lee.
Miss you. Yeah. So I mean, it's cool. You know, I like growing as a person, and I especially like seeing the people around me grow. Like, watching your progression has been really cool, and how your shop's grown, and how you've grown, and everything.
What also is hard, though, is also seeing the people that we were around 10 years ago that aren't even in this industry or not even in my circle of friends anymore. Right? We've all had those friends that have come and gone over years, and each year, and sometimes we only see each other once a year at conference. In Vegas.
Like, remember how much we used to like talk to and hang out with like Wade Dunn and
Wade.
Yeah.
Remember Wade? Remember Johannes?
Oh my God.
We're going to Boston.
Johannes.
He's tattooing. He's a tattooer in Boston. In Boston.
I bumped into him at the Boston convention a handful of times.
Well, I think it would shock the hell out of him.
He'd be like, "Who are you?"
Yeah. You're a
piercer.
piercer.
But like, they're definitely. Do you feel like that was just everybody growing up and moving their own separate ways, or do you think that was like BME falling apart?
That's tricky. That's tricky to say. I mean, we all grow separately, and we take our own paths, and who's to say what their paths were if they wanted this? And
because you stayed really close with John Joyce and like
John is
ethics
still and ethics.
Yeah.
They're still tight. So I think everybody makes those connections within conference, right?
Right.
You go to conference and you still see these people that year after year they're all hanging out together, and we build these little families and these bonds, and it's
yeah.
sad.
You kind of you do see these people that, you know, that's kind of a good way to look at it. It's like, oh, you know, so and so didn't make it to conference this year, so it's like, oh, you know, I wonder what they're up to. I wonder what's changing for them. Like a good example, like Dave Gilstrap. You know,
right?
Like
he's got a family. He's got 2 kids.
Yeah, you know, he's doing his thing. I don't feel like I could ever do that. I don't feel like I could ever find something that could replace the industry for me. It could maybe supplement a little bit of my time, but I don't think I could ever leave the industry.
Never say never, but I've seen people that you would never think would leave it, and they've left.
Yeah,
or found something different, or burnt out. And I think I read a statistic somewhere that people change their careers at least 4 times, like big careers, three or four times in the course of their lifetime, or 3 big jobs or 4 big jobs. And it makes me wonder, like, we've been in this, you said almost 20 years, right? I've been in this 16, 17 years now. That's a long time.
Yes, it is.
Half our lifetime.
And it feels longer and longer the older I get. Oh, my GPS signal's lost. You know, it's weird. Like, I mean, do you see yourself at like 50, you know, being a part-time piercer?
No, I don't. And I feel like that's when I don't want it to become creepy. I didn't want to be that 50-year-old guy piercing 16-year-old navels, you know?
Right.
And I wondered, at what point does that become a weird thing? And I know there's some 50-year-old piercers that are great. Yeah. And I feel like I could still be that great
You want to know what the line is for me?
What's that?
Piercing people who are 18 and older who were born after I graduated high school.
Yeah.
That's a little weird. Yeah. So, you know
we all have that line, I think.
I don't know if you've had it yet, but I had a client who she came in with her mom, got her
6 minutes slow down.
Oh, 6 minutes slow down.
Fastest route.
Thank you, GPS. So she came in, got a piercing with her mom, and then after I did it, her mom was just like, "Oh, you pierced me way back when I was 16, and now I was piercing her 16-year-old." Yeah, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
My first girlfriend that I ever was with in high school, she just showed up to my studio with her 16-year-old daughter.
Yeah. And
got her navel pierced, and it was just weird with my old girlfriend from high school.
Right.
Now I'm piercing her daughter at the same age that we were dating.
Did she look like
way
you?
back then? No, she did not look like me. That would have been awkward.
Had the gray hair.
Yeah.
Also, I have to tell you something very important about her parentage. Yeah. So I mean, I still love the industry, and I hope that I can stay happy and stay healthy in it. And I really like to help that new generation coming along, or help people sharpen up, you know. But I don't know what'll happen to me or to you or to us or the industry.
Nobody knows, and that's the hard part. It's the choose your own adventure books. You can't can't really figure it out. You can't look into the future, so just do the best you can today.
Yeah.
Stay positive.
I'm trying to be optimistic about it. I see great things happening. You know, the newer piercers that are coming in make me feel really comfortable with where the industry's going, you know. Like, there are some awesome piercers out there now, you know.
They're amazing.
And it's going to be great. And hopefully I just don't turn into one of those like Ryan Who kind of people, you know. I want to try to stay relevant and
keep your podcast going, and
I'll try. Yeah, when I get to like episode 300, you know, this will be episode 24 with you.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
You'll be burnt out podcasts.
I already am. Oh, it's such a pain in the butt. Like, okay, so I love it, but like, you know, having to edit the interviews and do that every week, like, I would love it if I were like, you know, some celebrity that could just, you know, you record an interview and then you just hand it off to some production assistant who puts it all together. That? Sadly, no. Maybe I should make Evan start doing that. That would be so great.
Sounds like we just found a new job for Evan.
Yeah. Clean the floor, order the jewelry, pierce my clients, and then edit my podcast weekly. Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. So,
on that note,
well,
I think
that's a good place to end it. But tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at a few places, actually. I own Thrive Studios in Ontario, in Cambridge, Ontario, at thrivestudios.ca. I also teach workshops alongside Ryan and FX in Quebec. Well, he's in Quebec.
He's in Quebec.
Yes, so you can find out more about that. It's progressivementorship.com. And then if you want to follow me on my new photography journey too, it's at followmenorth.com or followmenorth.ca.
You got a website for it too?
It's actually being built right now.
Fancy.
So it'll be up and running hopefully within the next month. So
What is
if you
this over here? It's like
it looks like a food.
it's like a farmer's market.
Let's get some of that.
Oh man, yeah.
But yeah, or follow me on Instagram at followmenorth.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Done.
Me, you know where I am. You're already listening to the show. So thanks, Jesse, and let's go get some food, and then we'll go see Apocalyptica.
Let's do it.
Cool. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you.
For more information about the show, visit piercingwizardpodcast.com or like Piercing Wizard Podcast on Facebook. For more info about your host, visit precisionbodyarts.com or search Ryan PBA on Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr. If you enjoy the show, you can subscribe on iTunes, Apple Podcast, and Google Play. Music by Benny B. Blanco. Show copyright 2017, Precision Body Arts LLC, all rights reserved.